Hi and welcome to my first live Facebook session. And my name is Phil Olley, for those who don't know. Welcome to all of you who've joined from far and wide. We'll be starting probably in about a minute. There's a few people still joining, and we're going to cover a lot of things today. It's going to take about 20 minutes. I've got lots of items on my agenda. Welcome to all of you who've joined from Facebook. First time perhaps you've seen me do anything in a business context or a live context. And also to the many readers of Daily Dynamite that we have who come from all over the world. We've got thousands of people on the readership list for that. Daily Dynamite, for those who don't know, is my daily tip sheet that I send out by email every day. And you can get hold of a copy if you're not already a subscriber. You can get hold of those via the website, which is available through the link on the Facebook page. Myself, I'm going to get started truly in a second. We've got a few people coming on. Hi Mary, that's Magic Mary who's joined. Mary is the kind of person who put together a lot of the technical stuff for me in the background. The other member of my team who's not here today, but that's Super Sharon. Some of you know Sharon, my personal assistant. And I'm going to introduce another member of my team shortly to you who has got a very important role to play today. For those who have seen me speak before, you might have seen Ted. Ted is one of the characters who's part of my team. This is a guy who, he's 53 actually, ironically, same age as me. He's been around a bit, as you can see. Don't worry, it's not a TED talk at all. He doesn't get a speaking role at all, but he does become relevant in a minute. So you don't want to be an elephant in a minute. No, I didn't say you're going to become an elephant in a minute. You become relevant in a while. And he's part of the agenda for later on. In fact, he's responsible for researching and dealing with all of the listeners and viewers' questions that have come in response to my appeal for questions from Daily Dynamite. There's a couple of people just joining, and we are going to get started any second. Let's go for it. Okay, so welcome. As I say, Ted becomes relevant in a minute. This is Ted. He doesn't become an elephant in a minute, becomes relevant in a minute, and he'll be dealing with some of the questions that have been sent in to me, which I'll be dealing with towards the end of the session. On this session, what we're going to be covering is the 3 keys to kickstarting your year, what I call September restarts. After the summer break, how to get really stuck in and kickstart the year. I'm going to cover something called Awesome Special Missions, which people will have seen me speak about. If you've seen me at conferences speak about this or been to one of my public seminars, you'll have heard me speak about that before. For those who haven't, you're in for a bit of a treat, I think. It's how to turn those projects that you really need to make a breakthrough with into the goals that you want and then deliver on them in 90 days. And we'll be talking about that. And I'll also be mentioning something that I've been doing, my latest project, in relation to that I actually have achieved in 10 days, and I'll be telling you how I did that. That's a peek behind the curtain. We're also going to talk about peak performance psychology and the way that Olympic athletes gave away, in a way, the psychology that they have to have. Well, I was watching the post-race interviews during the recent Olympic Games and the Paralympics, in fact, and what they say gives away a very, very important point about performance psychology that you can apply in any area of life that I think that people often miss, and I think that is really important. And like I say, towards the end, I'm going to cover that particular project that I've been working on, and again, employing the psychology of the Olympic athlete to that. So let's get started. The first item on my agenda is September restarts. September restarts. I always have loved this time of year. It's a time, I think, where it's an opportunity to get refreshed and to get started on projects that lead up to the end of the year without being hindered by holidays. You're in a kind of fresh mood. And there's a sense of harvest time, particularly in businesses at this time of year. No surprise that it is harvest time. I think that September has always represented restarts for many people, not just myself. So, for example, when you start a school year, it's September. When you start at university, normally it's the end of September, beginning of October for universities. You often find that people start jobs, start universities, start careers, start school years in September. And I think it's got that psyche around it, which is all about the restart. And it's not just about having a new school uniform or getting your pencil case organised. What I've got from this for myself is how to actually have a clear run to Christmas on particular goals. And I've been running September restart sessions with clients over the last few weeks in particular. and helping them to utilize the three keys that I feel are crucial to the September restart. And the first of these keys is goals. Goals, no surprise there, I suspect. When you start a new school year, it is clear what is required as the outcome or the objective from that school year. And so I believe too, in September, it's a good time to revisit your goals and set fresh ones, update the existing goals that you've got. In a school year, it is clear in an O-level year, I'm giving my age away perhaps there by talking about O-levels, but you know what I mean. In an exam year, you know where you need to get to by the end of that year, and it's absolutely clear. And the same way, I think it's a good way to start this final quarter of the year saying you know exactly where you want to get to. The second part of perhaps restarting at school is having a clear time plan. And that goes for business people, it goes for all of us, doesn't it? To have a clear time plan. At school, of course, that comes out in the form of your new timetable that you get in September for that year. It's amazing, isn't it, that at school you've got all these subjects to cover. And they don't just throw you into a classroom and say, right, get on with it. You have particular time slots when you're going to be doing maths, double history, biology, geography, whatever. And this is arranged in a way that is designed to make sure you get the right amount of time dealing with each element, each subject. And in business, we can learn a lot from that. Having time slots set through the week where you deal with particular activities, I think is crucial to running an organised and a focused regime. And that certainly is an important key in September restarting. So goals, and secondly having a clear time plan, and particularly this time plan running up to Christmas so that you can get everything done. The third element is focus. So goals, time plan and focus. And when I talk about focus, I mean this is about creating expectation levels of yourself. You know, when you go back to school, it's all about, well, you were previously second years, now as third years, this is what we expect from you. That's part of getting you refocused. The other part of getting you refocused is creating the right mindset around attendance, around being there. Now at school, of course, that happens with assemblies and morning registration. And it's a way of saying, I am here. So now that you've come back from the holidays and the break from the summer, it's about saying, right, here we are into the autumn term, and these are the things we're going to focus on achieving in that term. It's about being fully engaged and fully committed. By the way, while I'm talking here about these various ideas, if you want to hit the like button so that I know what's resonating with you, what particularly is hitting home to those people who have joined us and who are watching and are listening, that'd be great, because that gives me an idea of what really is hitting home and what you want to see more of in future broadcasts. The other thing I should mention at this point is a lot of the stuff that I'm covering will be covered in more detail in a forthcoming seminar, not until next year, but mark the date, 4th of March, the Nexus seminar. Will be covering lots of new ideas and lots more detail and lots of depth for that day. Save that date. It is a long way off, you might think right now, but save the date. Don't forget, keep liking the page. Thanks to those who are. Okay, a recap. What have we covered? We've covered September restarts, the three keys: goals, clarity of your objectives and the results that are required. We've covered your time plan, how to create a timetable for the coming months, making sure you've got time slots allocated for the various activities that are required in your business from your role. And we've covered focus, how to say, I am here, I'm committed, I'm engaged. And that's critical. Next, we're going to move on to the subject of awesome special missions. This came about from my own observations of people who are extraordinarily successful in all walks of life. In all walks of life. What I discovered was that they tend to work on very specific projects, normally in time frames of about 90 days. And when I started to see this happening and realize that it was happening, I started to deconstruct what exactly they were doing. And this is where I come up with the idea of awesome special missions. You see, project seems very much too much aligned with other things that I've done in life, like third year geography or something. To me, what I observed amongst the most successful people is that they were creating these projects that were both awesome. They were awesome in the sense they were big. They were asking themselves big questions. They were challenging themselves. They were setting the bar high. They were special in that they were things that they would always look back on as being something they were proud of achieving. And there were missions. There were missions which drew all of their focus, all of their attention, all of their peak performance was encapsulated in focusing in on delivering on these particular projects. So awesome, big, special, they'll look back on with pride, and a mission, you need to be at your best to achieve them. What I've discovered is that it's good to do these over a 90-day period. It's great to have between 1 and 3 of these running at any one time. They're short-term breakthrough projects. And there are 2 key rules for these short-term breakthrough projects. The first is that they must have an immediate impact on your results. An immediate impact on your results. And the second is they must have a lasting effect on your business, on your life. They must build towards the purpose of your life or your business, where your long-term objective is. They're the sort of things where you get butterflies in your stomach because you're asking yourself, creating a big challenge. They create those butterflies. They create the I must be mad moment. And we all know that mad means making a difference. And that's the true test of setting these awesome special missions. Will they make a big difference? And do you get butterflies in your stomach by taking the challenge on? Like I said, I'm going to come back to a specific example in my own world that I've recently taken on, which I'm proud to share with you towards the end. But these are perfect for finishing off your calendar year with a bang. Just imagine that you're sitting by the Christmas tree on Christmas Eve and asking yourself, what will you have achieved to make this a brilliant 2016? What will you have actually achieved in 2016 that makes you proud? Because you've got 3 months now, 90 days, to really make that impact. So what awesome special missions do you have by the end of the year? What awesome special missions do you have for the end of the year? So in business, this could be, for example, launching a new product or service. It could be launching a whole new website or a whole new brand for the business. It could be sorting out your distribution channels or changing, totally overhauling your sales process. It could be rejigging and reorganizing your team. It could be organizing your operations manual. Any of these things are big projects that if you can achieve them in a short term, and 90 days, will make the year stand out. On a personal level, it could be anything. It could be, deciding you're going to run a marathon or a 10K or whatever level you're starting at. It could be writing a book. It could be overhauling your home, decluttering, redecorating, doing all of that in 90 days, top to bottom. That'd be a challenge. It could be that you decide, I'm just going to lose a load of weight, 2 stone in 12 weeks. I did that. And it's a very, very revitalizing experience to actually find yourself targeting specific goals for the end of the year or for the next 90 days and really throwing all your energy at it, all your focus. Like I say, we'll come back to my recent project, which will clearly illustrate the point, where I've raised the bar totally actually and taken the 90 days and squeezed it to 10 days just to see how high I could climb, how far I could get, and to test out a whole new concept. And again, awesome special missions and the September restarts that we covered slightly earlier, we'll come back to at the Nexus seminar on the 4th of March. Mark the date in your diary. Again, welcome to those who are just joining. We've got a few people joining in, and do press the like button so that I know which bits are hitting home to you as part of this broadcast, because I'm going to keep repeating these monthly, and I want to hone them so that we're really hitting home with the audience that we get. So we've covered September restarts, setting goals, having a good time plan, and being focused, those being the 3 keys to a good September restart. We've also covered awesome special missions, those 1 to 3 breakthrough goals that get you to where you want to get in the next 90 days. Next up, I'm going to talk about what I observed in Olympic athletes. When I was watching the various, and we've all enjoyed the summer, we've all enjoyed watching the Olympic Games on television, both the Olympics and the Paralympics. And what I find fascinating is watching the various competitors between races give their interviews after a race, when they do their post-race interview with the TV channels. And I'm just going to have a swig of tea. Who would have thought it? Herbal tea in an Iron Maiden mug. That's a first, I bet. That's a long story. Don't worry, we won't go there. So talking about Olympic athletes, what I noticed about their interviews was that when they were asked how things were gone, what they felt about the race or the competition or the event they'd just taken part in, and this was particularly the case around about semi-final time, what I noticed about them was the way they answered those questions. They answered them with very precise, language. They were very clear about what had worked for them and what hadn't worked. There was none of the vagueness of, oh, it went pretty well. It was more about what exactly went well. They knew whether or not they'd run a great third bend, or which baton change had gone well or not. They knew if they'd broken stride between the fourth and the fifth hurdle. They knew all of that. They knew particularly what they'd been working on in practice and in training, and how they'd converted that and delivered on that during their performance. They knew they were fascinated by numbers. They're fascinated by time splits, by personal bests, by what it means in terms of their overall performance. And they're obsessed with how can they improve that performance in order to improve their overall results and towards their goals. I'm fascinated by this as well, that many people I ask in business or in life in general, how's it going? You get a very vague answer. In business particularly, you ask people, what has been the main results that you've achieved over the last 3 months? And most people will give you a rather vague answer. And yet the Olympian mentality is all to be very precise, very clear about what's working. Perhaps that's something that we can take away to use in business, in our general lives. Because what you can measure, you can manage. And that fixation with what they can measure allows Olympians to manage their training, manage their development, manage their performance the next time. Okay, turning to Ted. I introduced Ted earlier for those who've joined recently. Ted is my assistant. Here he is. He's 53. He's been around a bit. He's been battered and bruised. It's not a TED talk. As we said, he doesn't get much of a speaking part. But what Ted's in charge of is readers' letters and questions. And we've got a couple of questions. Here's the first one. Thank you, Ted. The first question that came in by email as a result of those people who get my daily Dynamites have been sending in questions. We'll get through a couple of them right now before we finish. The first question is all about significance, and it's from Derek. Thanks, Derek. It says, in your writing and daily Dynamites, you talk a lot about significance and purpose. And he says, that's okay, on a day-to-day basis, I like what I do, but I struggle with this because I run a great business, but I'm often very busy, and I just have to focus on issues as they arise. I end up dealing a lot with other people's stuff, and get to the end of the day with very little sense of personal forward momentum. And his final question is, how can I, on a very personal level and in a very practical way, get a better sense of significance? So this is all about how you view your life, actually. Thank you for that question, Derek. So at this stage, I could talk about vision, I could talk about purpose, I could talk about goals, and I could talk about all that sort of thing. I could also talk about time management, time effectiveness and focus for Derek in his personal situation to get better results on a week-by-week, day-by-day basis. But more importantly, I think, actually, this is as a general lesson. It's a tip that I have been using, actually, for as long as I can remember, since I was 18, which is a long while ago, 35 years, is to write a daily journal. This is my journal, sits on the side of my desk, and I write a daily journal. And it's got all sorts of stuff in, all sorts of stuff. I don't know whether you can see that, you probably can't see the writing, but and that's a good thing. It's a journal about my experiences, my life, and I just spend 10 minutes at the end of each day writing that up, finding a way of expressing myself, and it gives you a sense of journey and of purpose. And the reason I do this, and the reason I've continued doing it, I learned it from someone when I was about 18. It was in the run-up to A-levels, actually, so it was even before that. But what I've observed over the years is that all successful people have this sense of journey, this sense of writing the script of their lives. And many people I've met who are successful, very successful, do write a journal. They do keep a journal. So, Derek, that's the answer. That's the short answer and a very practical answer. Keep a journal. Keep a daily journal and write items in that. Ted, have we got some more? Yes, Ted. Ted's bringing over. Ted's bringing over. By the way, press like if you like Ted. Then, if we're not getting too many, well, we're getting a few likes. But press like if you like Ted, because it's important that Ted gets plenty of likes because he might not appear again. So here's his second question. This is from Louise. Louise says, I recently lost my job. How do I overcome this setback? And what advice would you give me to help me get back on my feet? That's from Louise. Recently lost her job, wants to get back on her feet. Okay, so here's 4 pointers, Louise. I did a little bit of work on this earlier. I call this bouncing back. This is overcoming setbacks in any form and any place that they happen in your life. Any setbacks such as losing your job. So number one is take personal responsibility. You might not feel responsible, and certainly don't blame yourself. Won't feel necessarily responsible for where you find yourself, but you are responsible for what happens next. Setbacks are only a temporary blocker, a means of pointing you probably to new opportunities. And being the equivalent of just 2-0 down at half time, it doesn't mean you've lost the game. It's all about how you respond. And this is all about taking response ability. So that's the first point, is be prepared to respond, not react with anger or being upset. That might last a short time, but overcome that as quickly as you can and be able to respond. Take responsibility for where you find yourself. Second point about overcoming setbacks is to refocus. Take stock of your goals and your purpose and your long-term objectives and reset those. Also assess your strengths, your unique talents and your skills and your experience. Spend time doing that, but particularly build yourself up. You're probably feeling a little bit raw at the moment, but focus on what you're good at and your long-term goals. The third item is to take action. Take massive action. Don't be drawn into procrastination and lethargy. Take action in a urgent way on those aspects of those goals that you have control over. And particularly in your situation when you're looking at getting a new job, getting back into the job market, or even starting your own business as a result of finding yourself unemployed. Doing that, starting your own business certainly, and also finding a new job is a full-time activity, and it's all about taking focused action. So you need to get busy, you need to get active. So those are the first three. Take personal responsibility, refocus on your goals and on your strengths, take action, massive action towards your goals, and in particular in relation to getting back on your feet. And fourth, have what I call a self-upgrade. And the self-upgrade is things like in the job situation, updating your LinkedIn profile, your online presence, your Twitter profile, things like that. Pay attention to things like how you look and how you think and the words you use and your fitness and your health and your appearance. Develop a fresh regime and a fresh rhythm to your life that will make you and allow you to feel great and get out and meet people, because it's in doing that that you generate opportunities. So thanks for that, Louise. Thanks for your question. I hope that those things help, and do let us know how you get on with finding that new job. And thank you to Ted. Thank you, lots of likes for Ted. Thank you, Ted, for your questions. You'll be appearing again next time. And finally, in this session today, I did promise I'd talk about one of my own particular awesome special missions, my projects. We've covered so far September restarts, how to kickstart the year after the summer holidays by the 3 keys of goals, of having a good time plan, and of being focused. And we talked about awesome special missions. And by the way, all this stuff is going to be included in my new seminar, that's the public seminar that's next year, that is on the 4th of March, and that's the first of a series of seminars that I'll be running through the UK. And which brings me to my book, my third book. At the start of the year, I promised myself I would write my third book this year. I'd already written Counting Chickens, that came out many years ago, and Result more recently, which was published by Pearson's. And I wanted a third book, and I felt it was time that I started writing again. So this was one of my main goals for this year, but I knew that I couldn't get near to doing that until the second half of the year. And in the first half of the year, I had so many other things going on, lots of really significant and great stuff. So I wanted to make sure that I got this book finished, and I gave myself a 10-day promise, and that was that I would finish the book, the first draft of the book, in 10 days. And I only started it a few days ago, and I'm pleased to say that it's almost finished. That's where we've got to. The first draft of the new book. There are a couple of sections just to finish. Part of this came about from a number of sources. One was that I heard via my good friend Peter Thompson that there's a lot of research to suggest that books of the type that I write, anything more than 68 pages, won't get read. They might get bought, they might get looked at, they might get part read, but they won't get read start to finish. 68 pages. And I thought, well, that's about somewhere between 12 and perhaps 15,000 words. Now, in 10 days, that's not a huge amount. So I decided, I used a lot of mind maps. I decided I would write this book in 10 days, and that's the the initial, this is really raw stuff. You don't get to see this from many authors. That's the initial mind map that I drew up, if you can see that there. And I drew that up only a few days ago. And then I sat down and I drew up the schedule of the 13 sections of this book. I don't know whether you can see that actually, the 13 sections of the book. And I've ticked off those that are already complete. We've got 2 sections to go. And I've still got over 36 hours to 36 hours to finish the book before I fly out to Florence to meet my partner Diane. So I promised myself I wouldn't get on that flight until I finished the book. But the whole point of this is that it shows what you really can do if you get into that making a difference mode. If you get into that sense of you want to achieve this goal. And it's all about making a decision. It's all about that mad decision that sets the butterflies going of saying, I'm going to achieve this in 10 days. Now, I talked earlier about 90-day Awesome Special Missions. Many people would view Awesome Special Mission as writing a book. I did. When I wrote Results, that was an Awesome Special Mission. Did that in 10 weeks. This time, it's 10 days. And the point of that is not to impress you. It's to impress upon you the fact that you can achieve amazing things once you just get focused. Get up slightly earlier, go to bed slightly later perhaps, burn the midnight oil a little bit, just for this one job, this one task, this one project, this mission that means enough to make you want to do it, that creates energy, because energy begets energy. It's become rather easy to write. Now, the title of the book is Reflections from the White Tunnel, and it is all about my White Tunnel experience, which has been rather difficult to write from the point of view I've had to go back there and live the experience again. But it's all the reflections I've had since about what makes for a great life. And this is going to be the subject of the Nexus seminar back on the 4th of March next year. Save that date. Okay, thank you. That's just come to the end of my first Facebook Live session. I can't believe where the time's gone. Thanks to Ted. Thanks to all of you who've joined us. It's been an absolute privilege to talk to you. Thanks to those people, Derek and Louise, who sent your questions in, that I hope my advice, the framework that I gave you can help with both of those. And look forward to those of you who want to join the daily Dynamite list. Do so. It's available through the website, which is available, the link is on the Facebook page. Join the daily Dynamite list. You get some of me every day, just a brief, pithy, focused piece that will make you think, I hope. Thanks to Ted, thanks to you. That's me finished. The next session will be the 21st of October, and we're going to be talking about how to plan next year. The 21st of October, we're talking about creating a tangible year planner that will allow those people who are business owners 12 weeks off in the year, those people who want to just get more focused, how to get proper focused time over target, how to get more enjoyment out of the year to come. So thanks for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed my first broadcast, and wishing you every success. All the very best.